Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Planning and Zoning meeting of July 12th, 2022. I have a legal notice to read first, to appear July 1st and July 8th, 2022. Public notice. The Bethel Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on the following application July 12th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the conference room B of the Municipal Center, 1 School Street, Bethel, Connecticut. Frank and Judith Saunders, 17 Whitney Road, for a zone change to the TOD overlay and a site plan for 30 one-bedroom units and associated site improvements. The property is located in the RR10 zone and can be found in the assessor's record as map 14, block 16, and lot 23. The application information can be found on the Bethel Town website. The public may send comments via regular mail and email to landuse@bethelct.gov. Parking for hearing is located at the rear of the building. Ken Stevens, Chairman. Okay, we're going to start this with Beth, because I'm going to be taking over for right now.
I'll start by reading my staff report for the evening to the Planning and Zoning Commission members. Property proposed to be addressed as 17 Whitney Road is located within the RR10 zoning district and consists of 1.76 acres with frontage along Whitney Road. The site is also located within the transit-oriented development overlay zone. The site is abutted by an industrial gravel and stone yard to the north and a mix of single-family and multifamily residences to the south and west. To the department's knowledge, the site has been used to store excavation and truck equipment since its purchase by the current owners, Frank and Judith Saunders. The Saunders proposal currently before the commission includes a 3-story structure containing 30 one-bedroom units, each with an area of roughly 650 square feet on average. Per the Bethel zoning regulations, 53 parking spaces are required for a structure with this unit count. The Saunders proposal indicates 60 parking spaces would be provided. The commission requested review comments from the following agencies. Engineering, these are all attached if I've received them. July 7th, 2022. Public Utilities, March 4th. Town Architect, June 28th. Police Commission, Fire Marshal, and Health Department. We're waiting for those comments. Following the applicant's presentation and public comments, the commission should schedule a site walk of the property before this public hearing continues. I offer the following comments to the commission with respect to the TOD. Town of Bethel adopted its master plan report on June 16, 2016. This TOD master plan was the result of extensive community participation and months of work to re-energize the village center. Since the TOD master plan was adopted, 48 units consisting of 1 and 2 bedrooms have been built in structures since approved by the commission. 3-bedroom units are not allowed in the TOD zone. 8 of the aforementioned 48 units meet the requirements of the state of Connecticut Affordable Housing Statute. Number 3, the town of Bethel has recently approved funding to prepare a mobility, walkability, and parking impact plan whose scope includes the TOD. The components to this mobility plan include creating concept plans and design drawings for traffic calming in the downtown area, completing a parking inventory, assessing parking needs, reviewing current parking requirements in the regulations, and determining where future parking areas should be located. Studying and researching these elements is an important first step to address current issues pertaining to the flow of vehicular and pedestrian traffic. The future findings of this mobility plan may be used by the town to pursue state and federal funding with the intent for the town of Bethel to achieve its goals of providing safe pedestrian-friendly streets and walkways with appropriate parking opportunities using traffic calming elements. They would calm us down if there were elephants on this road. Number 4, the TOD master plan regulations include architectural standards for all development types. Any and all developments within the TOD are subject to an architectural review. Number 5, all developmental reviews by the commission for properties within the TOD zone should take into consideration the density and the surrounding housing of an existing neighborhood. I offer the following additional comments with respect just to the site plan. Sidewalks should extend the property length and go through the driveway. The proposed no storage area within the 100-year floodplain should be removed. The proposed 14-foot lighting pole should be changed to bollards, considering the surrounding residential area being low lit. Any building exterior lighting fixtures in their respective locations on the same should be identified. Number 9, existing fencing located throughout the site is industrial in nature, consisting of a black chain link fence and cedar wooden plank. The applicant should consider replacing this fencing with vinyl or wood decorative fencing 6 to 8 feet in height to reflect the proposed residential use of the property. Number 10, the frontmost proposed landscaping area should include trees that will provide a canopy that resembles existing mature vegetation along Elgin Avenue, oaks, maples, etc. Number 11, upon review of the TOD master plan with the fire marshal, a proposed connection with Paul Street, currently a dead-end road, was identified. It is incumbent upon the applicant to provide emergency access to the adjoining property. The applicant may opt to limit the use of this access by installing a gate or fencing at the discretion of the fire marshal. As was previously stated, the commission should schedule a site walk to review the existing conditions of the property and its surroundings. Accordingly, the public hearing for this application should be continued to July 26th. Possible dates for a site walk, I use the 16th and 23rd, which are Saturdays, but you may want to do it at night during the week. I also want to note for the record, before the applicant presents, we received the following correspondence from the general public. Through email, Allison St. Germain, 14 Elgin Avenue, Miriam Day 6, excuse me, DASIC, DASIC, 80 Chestnut Street, Sarbelia Cobalis, and Brian C. Walters Jr. And I think it would be wise if you just want to explain how public hearing is conducted, if we have some people that haven't attended before.
Not a problem. Okay, so what happens is, right now, the applicant will stand up and will explain the site plan and what is going on. After he's finished, you, the public, will be allowed to ask questions. When you do, we ask that you come up front, give your name and address, and talk to us. Everyone, the applicant, and we will take notes, and then the applicant will answer your questions after you're finished. You'll be given a second opportunity, then he can answer the question. Then you'll be given a second opportunity to ask questions again. Okay, but remember, you come up here, give your name and address so we can make record of it, and you talk to us, not to the applicant. Okay, and he will answer your questions. We'll take notes and we'll make sure of this. Okay, thank you.
You can also just come up and make statements.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
All set?
ready?
Good evening. For the record, Mike Mizuko, professional engineer in my office, is in the representing the applicants. Here's the green return receipt, the notice that was sent out, and with that was the copy of the application, which is required by the regulations.
Thank you.
With me here tonight is Chris Busnell, the project architect, and he'll go over the building plans in more detail after my presentation. So as was noted, this is an application for 17 Whitney Road in Bethel. And it's located here, sort of at the end of Whitney Road and Elgin Avenue at a more than 90-degree bend in the road. This is the A2 survey map. Currently, the site is improved with a contractor's storage building and a yard. There is a brook, wetland, and floodplain that's associated with that wetland resource. There was a LOMAR, or a letter of map revision, for the floodplain, so it now coincides with the listed flood elevations in that area of 361.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, could you speak up, please?
Sure.
I know I've had a problem hearing.
So I was saying that there was a LOMAR done that was approved to change the flood line, which was originally this line here that went through the building, to the elevation 361 here, which is the listed flood elevation for that area. Property drains in an easterly direction from the left of the page across to the right side, obviously towards the brook. Our area maps, the natural diversity database, mapping, rezoning, shows property in the RR10. And this is the soils mapping and the topographic map of the surrounding area with the site in the middle there. And that is the flood hazard mapping. So this is more of an existing conditions, there's a little more information than the survey map. It does show there's some existing underground drainage, stormwater management system, the current drainage piping associated with some drainage in the road that drains onto the site and discharges here, not too far from the brook. And as you can see from the topography, the slopes, there's a little plateau here, it then slopes down to a flat area near the front of the garage. And then towards the back of the garage, it drops down and there's a grassed area here. Most of this back here is pretty much cleared. So the proposal is to raise the existing building and propose a single 3-story building that will contain 30 one-bedroom units. And we would use the existing driveway and then expand the site parking. As noted, we have 60 spaces, which is what it exceeds the required of 1.75 parking spaces per unit. And we do have some retaining walls just to deal with the grades and flatten out the site for the parking areas. I have a little small wall here to obviously limit the filling, any filling in the floodplain. And we did file an application with the Wetlands Commission and did receive approval from them. And we are showing a recreation area here. That's the shaded box. As far as utilities, the site is served by municipal water and sewer. There's actually a sewer line in Whitney. And there's also a sewer line that runs along the easterly property line, which is where it's connected now to the existing building. But we're going to propose coming in from Whitney to the building by gravity and avoid trying to deal with an old line and increasing the size potentially. So we have additional stormwater management, a row of galleries here, and another row of galleries here that would discharge to a sort of a sediment trap, and then we have a little berm along here just to get the water to flow a little more length along overland flow before it gets to the brook, as opposed to where it's the current situation where the discharge is here literally 15 feet from the brook. So we're just trying to improve on the water quality aspect of the drainage design. And we did do a cut and fill analysis. It's a net fill, but when you take into consideration the gravel required for the parking areas, the thickness of the pavement, the slabs for the buildings, gravel under the slabs, things like that, you're basically almost net with the cut and fill. So, as noted in the staff report, we had 14-foot lights, and I have a lighting intensity map. I'll just, that's here. And we'll take a look at changing out the lights. Obviously, with a bollard or a post light, you don't get as much light spread, so you have to have more lights. So we'll take a look at that. But this is just the lighting intensity grid, just showing the numbers for the lighting that we have designed currently. So what we tried to do was just keep all of the, the 14-foot lights more central to the site. And we had a series of small post lights around the building for walkways and things like that. So you can see we have just a detail of the post light here and our 14-foot lamps here. And this is just a vehicle turning plan, more of showing how a fire truck can get in and out of the site. Just standard details for construction. I have a dumpster area. I was missing the call out for the dumpster saying it's here, but I'll clarify that. But I have the detail showing actual dumpster. And then just more erosion control details, which is pretty much standard. So that's pretty much the proposal. And at this point here, I'll turn it over to Chris to go through the architectural aspects. Oh, you did?
Yeah. For the record, Chris Snow, DBS Design LLC, 17 Buckville Lane, New Milford. I'm a project architect. As Mr. Mizuko just outlined, we are proposing a 30-unit, one-bedroom, approximately 120 by 70 footprint apartment building. On the first floor, we are looking at having the main entry to the front here, nice hallway, also mailroom, mailboxes, all that. There's also side entries to the building, for egress reasons, and also for safety and access. And we have an elevator in the building that serves all 3 floors. We also have 2 stair towers, one on each side of the building, also for egress and access. Each unit has a nice living area, eating area, kitchen, 1 bedroom, closet space, linen space, bathroom, utility closet, mechanical room. Most units except 3 have either a patio or a balcony directly access from the living area. And then we move to the second floor. We're using the main entry. We're able to do another unit here in the middle. That's the only unit that doesn't really have a balcony. Yeah. The third floor is identical to the second floor. Then we have the exterior elevations. This should be the proposed front of the building. This would be the main entry. We're highlighting with a little bit of stone veneer, so it looks a little different than the rest of it. Most of it's going to have siding. Try to do different material samples, and we had some color renderings that we did. So we can show you this at this time. So as you can see, like I was mentioning, different materials, siding, colors, trim, the balconies, the patios. To give you an idea of the side of the building, where the entry is. Try to make it look residential with a standard colonial feel on the sides, and you know, the main building here. And have another view of this, more of a frontal view. If you're standing in the parking lot, you would look at this directly. Other things I can tell you about the building. Per TOD standards, 6 units are designated affordable. It could be at any level of the building, since we have an elevator. Building will be fully sprinklered. Again, I mentioned this has the elevator. And very importantly, also, all units were designed to meet ADA requirements. So personal disabilities can literally move in at any level, any unit, and the unit can be retrofitted to, you know, meet all ADA requirements. We're gonna install the blocking in the walls, so all the bars and all the fixtures are gonna be ready to go. We work with the town architect. We coordinated, you know, for the design and the size and everything, so at this point,
Thank you. Okay. So, we've seen the presentation. Would anybody have any questions? Raise your hand and come forward, or as Beth said, a statement or a question. Please come forward and name and address.
Steinert,
I'm sorry.
Bob Steinert, 16 Whitney Road. My statement is, no apartments, too much traffic. Enough traffic as it is, it would just be not good for the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Spell your last name.
Steinert, STEINERD.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Here, in this room, please.
Yeah, hi, my name is Mike Mancini, Mancini. I live at 9 Elton Avenue. And I guess I'm curious about the process, right? So like, I've never been to a zoning commission thing before. This is very close to home, and I'm just really curious about it, right? So I guess my question is, like, have you all already made up your mind about this? And like, this is just part of the process, and like, we have to have this meeting because that's what we do. And then we're just gonna push it through and build these units because that's what we decided. I guess I'm just curious, is that what this, because honestly, I mean, what's gonna happen is gonna happen. So I guess I just wanna know like what your perspective is on this, because I would imagine that anyone who agrees that this should be here is not in the room right now, because they don't actually care. Right? What you're looking at are people who care about our neighborhood. So we want to know, are we wasting time here? Because we are against this, you know, like, yeah, that's all.
Would you mind if I
Okay,
say something right now? Would that be okay?
I was gonna argue with you, but I'll say, it, because you're the commission, I'm not. You're not wasting your time, number one. Number two, you have to think of this in terms of, there's regulations that have to be followed, rules that have to be followed. You have an applicant who's presenting to the commission. The commission will take in everything. They will absorb it. They'll either agree or they'll disagree. It's like almost like I hate to say this term, but it's almost like a courtroom. Okay, to a degree, you know, and they have no preconceived notions. If they had preconceived notions, they couldn't be sitting on this board. They would recuse themselves and not sit here. So as far as any predetermination, are you wasting your time? My answer is staff, and doing this for many, many years, is no. Kitty?
We're seeing it as you're seeing it. And with that said, there's no preconceived. That's what this commission is all about.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So please, that's what we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
So come on.
I'm Allison St. Germain. I'm at 14 Elgin, so that was one of the things. I have three questions, or some questions for the architects and building, and then I do have some comments. So my question is, will this be central air? Will central air conditioning be one of the features in the property? Okay.
They'll answer one more.
Okay, then what kind of finishes would we expect? So are they marble countertops, or is it tile? What's the flooring? Is it wood flooring? My question on that is because then I think obviously the transit district, you're wanting to attract young professionals that are looking to be able to commute places. So it is within walking-ish distance to the train, but you guys all need to know me. I'm the one that runs all over town. It is from my house on Elgin to the end of Grand, a half a mile. And then you still have to walk around the corners. So a young professional, today I was working from home like I usually do. I'm usually in shorts and t-shirt. I put on a sundress. I've been walking around all afternoon, hot as heck. So what young professional is going to walk the mile and plus because there's no walk around? You could walk behind the Grand and cross over the train tracks, which I'm sure is what lots of people do,
They
my
do.
children included,
They do.
but obviously that's not the way. So you have to go out to the street and walk around. The side of the driveway coming in, we know that driveway right now has 2 stone pillars. Is that going to be expanded? Or is that just the size of the driveway coming in? Because it's on the corner of Elgin and Whitney. And let's talk about street lighting. So there's 2 homes that are right adjacent to that. So the street lighting, completely understand the lighting in the place. But what street lighting are we going to have? My son goes to Abbott Tech and gets on the bus at 6:15 in the morning and walks down Elgin. And there's two working streetlights. The bus stop for all of the children and all of the kids, middle school, high school, with the community bus stops is down at the end of Diamond and Greenwood. So what street lighting would be available at that corner there? Maybe the bus company would move their bus stops, but potentially not. So street lighting is definitely a concern. And then the other question would be about access out the back to out the back to Paul Street. So when the Grand was built, which went through a lot as well, the consideration is that there was 2 egresses. So the exit onto Grand, but the exit out the back to be able to go through, because as all of our firemen know, when they line up on Elgin for Memorial Day Parade, they come in from Whitney, and to take that corner, if you have any cars or any vehicles, we've been told in the 17 years that we've lived here, do not park on the street during the Memorial Day Parade. You just can't. By X time in the day, you have to leave. So what is that gonna look like? Then as far as for the town and commission, let's talk about coming south on Grassy Plain and trying to turn left into onto Whitney. Residents there, you can't turn left at a busy time of day with the traffic coming north. Residents like myself will go down to the Sycamore and will turn there because you have a left-hand turn. So then you're gonna get more traffic coming up Elgin, which let's talk about Elgin right there. In the 17 years I lived there, it has not been paved. As a runner and running, how many times I've tripped or stumbled, and I know that we have a lot of people who do have disabilities who do walk and or ride their scooters or their bikes through town. So let's talk about that. Also, sidewalks. There are no sidewalks in either of those neighborhoods complete from one end of the street to the other. And then when you get out to Diamond, Diamond is lovely and is paved. There is no sidewalk on Diamond all the way to Grand. So there's no infrastructure for sidewalks. So are we going to have a sidewalk in the strange circle part of Elgin and Whitney? So the biggest points that I would see are that there is an empty lot basically there that has been used as a contractor yard. It's not lovely. This isn't lovely either. It's empty right now. So what other pieces and things can go in there to make it fit into the neighborhood that we're talking about. We have one side street with Whitney having about 20 homes, and then you have Elgin with maybe 25 to 27 homes. And you're gonna have 30 more units of family units here, potentially. That seems excessive and really large. So those are my questions. I have them written down, so if you didn't get them all, I can certainly email them to you.
Crushed it.
Or anyone else who would like to come up? Please.
So I have more questions.
No, That's what we're here for.
Amy Santana, 6 Bud Drive.
Give me a sense.
And I grew up in Bethel. So I've lived here for almost 50 years. So a couple questions, and this whole project and the development of Bethel has made me sad. It's lost a lot of its character in general of what I've grown up in. And these buildings are bringing, but it looks like a hotel, and I'm sorry, it really does. It looks awful. And so I'm curious, as far as the 30 units that are in this, are they all 1 bedroom? Okay, so with that being said, how many spaces are for parking? I came in a couple minutes late, so.
All the questions will be answered at the end.
Okay, so there's 60 spaces for parking, so assuming that there's 2 cars per person and there's no visitors. Am I making that assumption right? So there's no parking for any access. Are we assuming that there are no children that are gonna stay there as well? So our schools are, I mean, there's an impact on this community as a whole. You know, maybe it's not young professionals, maybe it's single parents that are living there with multiple children that can't afford better housing. How about amenities? Are there any amenities in the building? Is there a workout center? So if I'm a young professional, I probably want a gym in my building or something along the lines. And are there any common fees as well? And I think those are about my questions, but as far as that goes, I just want to highlight some things and kind of to piggyback on where is everybody going to work? And you had some really great points.
Thanks.
Excuse me all. It's nice that you all support each other by clapping and stuff, but I would ask that you refrain from that. We can just keep moving faster and get out of this room a little bit quicker.
And the next person?
Paul Fredericks, 13 Whitney Road. We've lived there for 33 years, 34 this year in December. Raised our family there. You know, my grandkids are there every week. It's a great community, a great neighborhood, very diverse. A lot of single and double family homes on Elgin and Whitney. And 30 more units. That building does not fit in our neighborhood. It's just wrong. When we were shopping for a house, we were looking in Danbury. Danbury pricing was a little cheaper at the time back in '88. But every time we found someplace that was nice and the neighbors looked nice and the neighborhood looked nice and around the corner was an apartment building. And we ran into that quite a bit. We settled in Bethel. It's a nice little town. We love it here. I was in the fire department for many years, 3 years as a lieutenant, and just really enjoyed the people here and the town. The parking thing was something I was thinking about too, because you got 30 units, 60 spaces. It was not a 2-family or 2-car family anymore. So that puts a lot of people on our roads parked, and it gets tight now. If we have a party or something, it can get a little tight. It's going to get crazy. Speeds on our roads have definitely increased. People cutting through, trying to beat the lights is a fun thing. So it's just going to get worse. And now we got 60 more cars going up and down our road at least twice a day, if not more. It just doesn't fit.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Nancy Sudik, and I live at 2 Ridgedale Road, nowhere near this proposed development. But The reason why I came is because I've been concerned lately, I've lived here 50 years. And I drive around town and it's not the town I moved into, and I understand progress, I do understand that. We have to move on, people need places to live, but 30 houses, and correct me if I'm wrong, and this would be my question to you. Is that density higher than what the average density might be for a one, I think 1.7 acres? It appears to me that it probably is. I mean, I could get it if you had, you know, quarter acre lots and you were putting single family, 1-bedroom homes. I mean, I could understand that, but these are 30 families. Too big, in my opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our third room, 13 Willow Street. I don't have any questions, just a statement. Both my wife and I have been residents of Bethel for over 50 years. Like our parents, we chose Bethel to raise our family there. We bought our current home on Willow Street 25 years ago, knowing that it was a dead-end street that saw virtually no traffic after 5 p.m. And the adjoining neighborhood of Whitney and Elgin were predominantly single-family homes. We never imagined the 3.5-story, 30-unit apartment complex would be erected in our backyard. I'd like to express my opposition to the proposal to erect a 30-unit apartment complex at 17 Whitney Road. This project is proposed to be built on what was not long ago 3 separate parcels of land that have been combined into this one parcel. One of these parcels of land one of these parcels not only abuts my properties, it is less than 10 feet from my master bedroom and at an elevation of 10 feet above my property. The added elevation has already been problematic for me as the stormwater runoff has caused erosion and undermining of the footings of my home. Portions of the property at 17 Elgin, along with the rest of the properties on Elgin Avenue, Whitney Road, and Willow Street, are zoned RR10, which is, to my knowledge, is single-family and 2-family homes. I know of no one who wants to see what would essentially be a Motel 8 erected in their backyards. Additionally, the proposal to add a roadway through this property and Galt property, Paul Street, which is a dead-end street, is preposterous and is only being proposed that several more of these undesirable complexes can be built on Paul Street. This proposal, along with other similar proposals, does not fit in these established single-family neighborhoods. They will surely overwhelm the town's infrastructure. The narrow New England streets in these neighborhoods cannot handle the additional 60 vehicles that this project alone will generate, not to mention the burden that would be placed on our emergency services. I urge the board to deny this application. It does not fit or belong in these long-established single-family neighborhoods. If the owner still wishes to develop this property, then I might suggest a couple of modest single-family homes that fit the neighborhood. Please stop overdeveloping our town. And I'd like to submit my written opposition to the board for the record.
Okay. Yes, come on.
Hi. Yeah, Michelle Zenobia on 16 Whitney Road.
Thank you.
And I guess I have a question for the town, that maybe the town can answer, and also the builder. Like, how would this project benefit the residents of Whitney Road and Elgin Avenue?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else here in this room would like to? Oh, go ahead, Sophia.
I'm going in. With my things. So, I need business. Okay. It's Cynthia McCorkindale, 19 Elgin Avenue. So there's so much to unpack here, but I'm going to try to limit it because it's not just this project. I bought my house in 1996, freshly divorced, on a documented income of $26,000. I am, an example of somewhat of the American dream, not with the family, but that house, the house that I own is the house that was legendary Jesse Fairchild who was, if you're between the ages of 40 and 80, you had her as a kindergarten teacher. It's a white stucco house with a clay tile roof. And it looks like, you know, Southern California. Elgin Avenue and Whitney Road are, it's a quirky little neighborhood. This ain't quirky. This is just horrific, honestly. And it's nothing to do with the architecture. It could go somewhere else. But imagine you live on Elgin Avenue or Whitney Road, and they have the winter moratorium for parking. You can't even park on the street in the winter. Those people will be, you know, they're nicely ensconced in their 60 spaces. We have to struggle all the time as far as even passing another car. I've been trying to get a speed bump on Elgin Avenue for 5 years. And what they did was the police officer monitored it about 100 yards from the stop sign in a black and white and wondered why he wasn't seeing anyone speeding. Well, I can tell you because they say, oh, cop, and then they stop. So there's a lot of racing around that corner. What's extraordinary to me, your commission, whether or not you have, and I am so angry about this that I don't even care. I'm gonna just say what I think. This commission is very powerful. You have a lot of power and the state gives you a lot of power and the code gives you a lot of power. So when you say that it makes a difference, I don't think it does because you follow the regulations and it's very difficult for someone who believes in the free market and capitalism to support denying an application for that reason, because it's a proposal, it's a building, but then I have to ask, what is the point of adding more people at the expense of the existing residents? It's like you're putting up storage containers for people, 1-bedroom apartments, which is not going to invite families. It's 1 bedroom. Like the other woman said, the professionals, they're not gonna go through marshland to get to the train station, but no, that's okay, because you got another idea for the 52 unit or 50 unit senior housing on Diamond Avenue and the overland pass and the walkway and the bridge over what, I don't know what you called it, Simpog. Yeah, Simpog, it's really like a rivulet or a creek, if you will. I mean, it's not waterfront property is what I'm saying. You know, so.
When it storms it is.
Okay, yeah, that is true. This particular structure at 3 stories, and this is sarcastic, but you know, you think if you take a box and put a pitched roof on it, all of a sudden it's homey. No, the word hotel motel came up a lot, and I think it's accurate. And what's extraordinary to me, I remember the police station and the idea came up like, you know, could we just use that existing land and build it there in the existing land? Someone suggested that the floodplain be redrawn. That's that request from the state. What a miracle happened. You got the floodplain redrawn. And when that was suggested for the police station, it was summarily dismissed as a stupid idea. So I'm not targeting any of you individually. I'm just saying that in a way, this is a joke because you're gonna pass this. I guarantee you're gonna pass this. It's not gonna be scaled down. It's not gonna be modest homes. It's not gonna be townhouses. It's gonna be this. And it's so wrong. Have you been to the neighborhood? Have you driven around? It's so wrong that it defies description. That is my opinion. I have no questions other than how did you get the floodplain redrawn? Because, you know, I mean, it's just plain wrong. One more thing about the TOD. I followed this very closely in 2014 when they started this. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit hyperventilating. And yeah, I'm gonna take just a moment and then I will. Okay.
This is your moment, Cynthia.
It's my moment.
Your time.
This is my moment.
Okay,
that's me. All right. The TOD, do you know how many times the word charming appears in their report? Well, charming no more, because you've got some hideous monolithic beast across from the municipal center, which hearing I attended, which that's the compromise version, by the way. There were modifications made to make it more palatable. Well, guess what? It's a honking behemoth that dwarfs everything around it. Was that a little music? Yeah. So here's why people are up in arms. because it starts here. I believe this is a watershed where we need to cross the Rubicon here. Because this, if this goes through, it's gonna open the gate like, Stranger Things. And, the primordial ooze is going to come out and blanket the town. Nobody in their right mind would want this. And that is my opinion. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
John,
it's a good lead up. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Lennon. I live at 16 Old Turnpike Road in Bethel. I have a different look at this whole thing. I sat on that side of the table for 19 years and was part of the TOD study. And to your point, when you first spoke, and I'm sorry, I'm directing the chairwoman, but there is a process. And the process is, there's public hearings and there's a commission. When the commission has an idea, they can't just change the regulations and decide to put it in ink. There's a process. The TOD process was a long, drawn-out process that was well over a year. The state and the town, we all decided that we need more density and we need affordable housing, and we need to put it where town services are. Okay, we don't put density out in Stony Hill where they can't get on a bus route. We don't put density out in Stony Hill where there's no sewer. Okay, we put density downtown where the stock is available and we could make reasonable housing for downtown. There is a train station that transit-oriented people that want to work in New Haven and come to Bethel to live and then spend their money eating in our restaurants. Okay, that's what TOD is all about. That's how they sold it to me over 10 years ago. We want density downtown where town services are. People could walk from that development. They could go to a bus stop. They could go to a train station. They could go to a grocery store. They could go to a pharmacy. That's where you want to plant density downtown. Everybody loves to say, I love Bethel. You know what I love about Bethel? I love that everybody is walking on the streets of downtown and they're sitting in the restaurants eating. Okay, I live in Stony Hill. If I get in my car, I have to make a decision. Am I driving to Danbury to dinner or am I going downtown to dinner? If density lives downtown, they're gonna eat downtown. They're gonna shop at the bakery. They're gonna go to the grocery store. They're gonna live within the community downtown. We talked about parking tonight. There are so many affordable housing developments that came in front of me over the last 20 years that offered one parking spot per unit. This application is complete. This application fits the regulations. Okay, to Cynthia's point, nothing's guaranteed, but this application fits the regulations that we drafted over the last 20 years. How do we bring an applicant to the table and spend good money on a plan, and then we try to deny it, or we get upset today that I can't believe we're gonna put that there. 10 years ago, we decided that these regulations would fit downtown. As a town, we decided we want density, and now we have an application that fits all the regulations, and everybody's upset. I don't understand that. I'm sure I'm gonna get booed, but that's the real deal.
The only difference is you don't live downtown.
Madam Chair.
Excuse me.
Madam Chair.
We talked to me or to the commission, and we'll all get a chance to speak once, if not twice. Yes, sir. Please come on.
Actually, I live in Stony Hill, you have city Stony Hill.
There's
no
discussion.
Anyhow,
No discussion.
Anyhow, my name is Paul Van Valkenburg. And
So I didn't hear.
Paul Van Valkenburg is my name, and my wife, my family, we own 6, 7, and 8 Whitney Road. And her family's been there for over 100 years. And it's right,
I'm sorry, you didn't give me your address.
6, 7, and 8 Whitney Road.
No,
Where I live is
Your-
116 Walnut Hill Road.
thank you.
And it is, the neighborhood is quiet, every house is different, which is nice about Whitney Road. Everybody walks on Whitney Road. The problem with Whitney Road is half the sidewalks are missing, so most of the people walk in the road and the cars flat on that road. And I don't know about anybody else, but that does look like a hotel, and it does not fit in single family houses down there. It's just, to me, it's gonna be an eyesore, and it's gonna drive it mainly, gonna drive the price of our houses down on the road. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
You need me over there or am I okay?
As long as everybody can hear you.
I have a letter which I'm going to give you.
Name
which-
and address.
Brad Colts, 1 Fairchild Drive.
Thank you.
I have a letter which I'll give you, which will recap some of my comments in more detail. but I have a couple of concerns about this process as it's unfolding. The first is that this appears to be a request for spot zoning. I've consulted 2 attorneys that have both said that in Connecticut, you folks have the right to change zoning relative to the master plan. However, when a developer comes before you and asks you to do it to favor a project, it becomes in danger of being considered spot zoning. And I would urge the commission to take a good hard look at that, because folks who consider themselves to be injured by that can sue the town. So I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but it's come to 2 different attorneys who both said that this smells like it could be a spot zoning problem. I would like to raise that as a concern. The second concern I have has to do with the TOD. On December 12th of 2017, this commission voted to adopt the TOD. Connecticut state law, and I referenced the statute, it's statute 98, section 7-148A, requires that by March of the following year, on an even year, which would have been 2018, that regulation or amendment be filed with the town clerk. It has never been. It's supposed to be entered into the town book of ordinances. It has never been. Once entered into the town book of ordinances, it is required to then be submitted to the Secretary of State. That has never happened. It is also required to be submitted to the law library at Superior Court, in this case in Danbury. That did not happen. So for a variety of reasons, nobody in this room can actually access the TOD regulations. If you go to the town website and you pull down the town zoning map, it's from 2014. It doesn't mention TOD anywhere. If you pull down the town zoning regulations from the official town website, it's from 2016. TOD is not mentioned anywhere in it. Now, I have raised this concern with some officials in the town as far back as 2020. These things have still not been corrected. I would point out to the commission that acting on the TOD, a regulation that is actually held in secrecy in the town, not by any of your decision, I'm sure, but every person in this room has a constitutional right, both in Connecticut and in the United States under due process, to be able to review these regulations so that we can come to meetings like this prepared and informed. And not one person in this room has had access to either of these documents. So you're operating in a vacuum, in a bubble, and making decisions that impact the town and the lives of every citizen in the town. And you're not conforming to constitutional law of the United States, constitutional law of the state, or state regulations in terms of the disclosure of these regulations. I raise it because if you go forward with these things based on the TOD, I think you're opening up a massive hornet's nest until you get your house in order relative to the documents and the requirements. And I submit this letter. It also references the laws that I've referenced. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. I
Second
already
turn.
spoke. Oh,
Second
second turn.
turn.
Okay.
Anybody else like a first turn in the room? Come on.
Can you hear me from here? Is that good, or do you want it there?
They want you on film.
We
wanna know.
Good, fine. You want to come?
Jeff Lagumba, 3 Summit Lane. One question I have, I guess it's for the committee. I noticed on one of Beth's comments, she has that access way going to Gold's property. I just find it interesting that you can make somebody put a access to their property to another property that would just benefit the other property's owner. Like if that entranceway, that exit would really go to nowhere, right? Because currently based on Google Earth and stuff, there's a masonry supply company there. And I think as Mr. Ingram mentioned, his house is there. So I don't know, where would that go? To me, it's kind of a waste of time to try to incorporate that into there. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Other than, as you pointed out, it kind of opens up all those other properties to another potentially entrance and exit. As far as the project, its current use is a construction garage, which again, I feel that could be really, this is probably, I hate to say you guys are beating up the parking lot. This is probably a better way to go, because current use, if the property owners decide to sell, they could sell to a garbage company to park their fleet of garbage trucks there.
school buses, I know there was complaints on the other road about school buses starting, going in the morning and stuff like that. There's no reason to stop them from doing that with the property. It's 30 apartments, that is quite a bit, but again, they have plenty of spaces, more than any other development as a drive around town. Like across the street, there's not enough parking there, they're gonna have to park on the road. The green space, based on what I see here next to the building, it's a lot more than across the street. The property next to Burger King, where they have, you know, tables and chairs set up in the parking spaces and pools set up in the parking spaces. The property next to Union Savings Creek and Grassy Plain Street, the same thing. There's no green space there. And to me, those look more like kind of cheaper hotels because they have no main entrance and an elevator in the center. They're kind of just decks and stuff like that, similar property in Tower Avenue. And I think that's it. So again, I think given the current use, this is probably the best fit of the property. The town did decide on TOD. I don't know about the legal part of it, like you were saying, Brad, but still that's what the town wanted. And again, these property owners said, right, this is what the town wants here. This is what we're gonna try to build here. I think if it went 830G, then you would have had probably, I'm guessing 50, 60 units close to 2 acres. So you have double the amount of traffic. Some of these people, I understand, their concern seems to me more about the TOD, sidewalks and things like that. Totally agree. That's, to me, that's a town issue though. The town, again, they don't pay, they haven't, I live in Grassy Plain for 14 years, so they did pay that when I lived there. I'm on Summit Lane now. My neighbor said that hasn't been paid since they put the road in the 70s. Again, sidewalks and things like that, you can't really punish these property owners because the town lacks the infrastructure. Again, the town decided these property owners didn't say, all right, we want to make, you know, this is TOD, we want to change this. They said, the town wants this TOD, this is, now we can apply for building to put this here. Had the town not made that TOD, then obviously they couldn't apply for the overlay to get the change to TOD. So yeah, that's my opinion. So anyway.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else in? Matt?
Hello, hi, my name is Mike Marchiante.
Sorry, I can't.
My name is Mike Marchiante. I live in 8 Whitney. I'm a new member to the neighborhood. I love to walk everywhere. Before I came to this meeting, I looked on Google. There's about 35 homes in both streets. So with one building, you're going to double our neighborhood. Because of the lack of infrastructure, I have to walk in the street most of the time. Most of the times I'm walking around cars that are parked in the street. So now you're going to send 60 more cars down our road. It's going to make it very dangerous for people. That's my statement. My question is, your common area, your green space or whatever, what chemicals are you going to use to keep the lawn green and poison the watershed? I mean, it's a huge issue with people and their lawns, fertilizers, poisoning the watershed. And now you're just had the watershed moved, all that stuff is going to run right into the environment. No one's talking about that, but that's disgusting. I also saw online, you said you're going to dump out 3,200 gallons of sewage into Wall Street. You're talking Whitney. But I saw online it said Paul, so I don't understand the discrepancy of that. That's the.
Excuse me, can you spell your last name?
Sure, MARCIANTE, Michael. Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Please, Matt.
Justin Burton, 12 Whitney Road.
Justin Burton?
Yes.
Thank you.
Basically, from your standpoint, you're trying to basically decide whether to give this a TOD rezone from a R10, which is just basically residential zoning. That, despite how I feel about it, because I'm a supporter of TOD, I always was. However, I'm not a supporter of taking advantage of TOD. And I think in certain cases like this, there has to be a level of responsibility when you're deciding what to put where and how it adheres to the certain regulations. I was part of a facilitator for the Bethel Forward plan in 2016. And there were a few things in that plan that I think that the commission should take into consideration. I mean, the first one on page 33 is 17 Whitney is a moderate risk under their environmental analysis. which basically means it classifies properties with potential environmental concerns, or a record of prior spill or leaking. Page 42, it has poor road frontage for this particular property. In DPZ, who did the study, basically said street frontages were assessed through the TOD area and classified into 3 categories: good, fair, and poor. Poor road frontages are not pedestrian friendly. They lack any consistent urban fabric, and they have interrupted sidewalks and are simply not favorable to a comfortable pedestrian experience. These areas will require the greatest effort in public and private investment. So that would be a concern. How's that is going to be addressed? Page 43, sidewalks. There are no sidewalks. This has been addressed before by many people here. But again, the study that the town did, to create a successful TOD, there must be necessary infrastructure to support it. Establishing a safe, accessible, convenient, and pedestrian-friendly sidewalk network is the first and most basic and significant step in creating a public transportation network to the train station and throughout the TOD. So despite the town made up TOD, and now you have an applicant applying for it, they're still applying for the town's TOD under their regulations, which they come up with. Again, like I said before, it's a double R10 zone, it's residential. Most of the lots that were studied were industrial and commercial. You have the Grand, which was I think the RMO zone, I believe it is. This, I believe, would be the first where you have a substantial building going into a residential property. And I think that's something that really kind of should just halt the brakes a little bit and see how far you really want to go with this. Because what's to say I live 4 houses down, what's to say I can't now, go that route and say, oh, I want to, put all these units on my property. It can just expand out to the whole TOD overlay. And I think that having those residential neighborhoods there, it's important to, keep them, I don't want to say as is, because, I've heard Rob say everyone wants to be the last person moving to town. But it's one of those things where you kind of have to use your judgment to, I think, enforce responsible development, in my opinion. And all throughout their study, all throughout the study for TOD, it's been, incentivized small scale, incremental development, things like that. Keep with the character. It's been listed 9 times. Cynthia mentioned it. Charming, 100 times, which is true. And you want to keep that. I understand things do have to change, and I don't have a problem with change, but I do have a problem again with taking advantage of what I feel is a system that the town has tried to create in order to solve some problems that we have. But how far do you really go with it? And when it comes to the actual TOD zoning itself, these are, I think, the questions that you're going to have to decide on whether or not, because you don't live in the neighborhood. It's not going to really impact you, but these regulations are what I think you have to concentrate on. In this letter, I think it would be important to address them. And with the proposal, I didn't really hear much about what is being addressed as far as TOD, except for, I think it was the 8 units or 6 units. But how is it really going to expand that overlay to the residential neighborhood and kind of tie it all in? Because I don't really see anything that's doing that. That's about it.
Anyone else? Please.
Angel Fredericks, 13 Whitney Road.
Thank you.
Up until just recently, 13 has always been our good lucky number. And I have to say, we brought up our children in our house. They're now in their 30s and having children, as you saw, our granddaughter. And our granddaughter came here because she's fighting for her right to learn how to ride a bike in a road without 60 extra vehicles driving on it. The road is too crowded as it is, and it's too fast. And about, 10 years ago, we went from, for some stupid reason, and nobody seems to have an answer for us, we went from 20 miles an hour to now 25 miles an hour. So all of our good tax money went to changing the speed limit signs, which was uncalled for. They were going too fast to begin with, and now we're giving them an extra 5 miles to go even faster. So now they can go 30 miles an hour instead of 25. And it's okay with the police department because it now says 25 miles an hour. Our kids and so many other children that have grown up in our house and who have grown up on our neighborhood area have learned to ride their bikes on Whitney and Elgin. And we're not going to give that opportunity to the children that are now
coming into our neighborhood, the new children, the older children, the grandchildren, the grandnieces and nephews, and we're gonna take that away from them. With that being said, does anybody want to buy a house? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Kurt Schmidt, 2 Blackman Avenue. My main concern with this project would be the safety of the kids. When I bought a house on 2 Blackman 8 years ago, and Codfish Hill Construction built a 2 and a 3 separate parcel multifamily home. And just from 5 extra families on our street, where we have functioning sidewalks, functioning street, it's pretty much a straightway. It added so much congestion, so much everything that now, like when my kids walk or ride, I'm pocket to pocket with them just to ensure their safety. So if you multiply that by 6 times on a road that doesn't have the right infrastructure, it's poor, very, very poor decision on the safety of the kids. And then I've got a kid that's 5 and 10 or 5 and 9 or 4 and 9, 5 and 9. And I couldn't imagine for the people that live there, the added stress that would add to their life. And it's just disgusting to see 30 apartments. Like, do something that's smart, do something that fits into the town code. That, I mean, I'm about TOD and I agree with the program, but it's absolutely disgusting what you guys are proposing to add 30 single family apartments. It's absurd. We shouldn't even have a meeting on this. Just do something that's right for the town, right for the families that live there. And just think about the bigger picture of our town, to preserve it the way we want it. And then the other thing too is one of these guys said something to give it a more of a residential feel. And I would just like a lot of clarification on that, because that does not look like any sort of residential establishment to me. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here in this room?
Sorry, I didn't come up to speak, but I got a lot of notes.
No, that's fine, please.
Hi, my name is Ron McLeod, 19 Elgin Avenue. So you're discussing this building, and I looked at it, and it just hit me that I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. That is the first condo that I moved into last century. That is out of New York City. So that does not fit into our local area. I think one woman, I'm sorry, man, I think you mentioned something when I was walking in about how the structure needs to fit into the surrounding neighborhood. The neighborhood is all 1 and 2 family houses. There are a couple of multi-unit dwellings, but they're all 1 and 2 family houses. And that area is zoned for 1 and 2 family houses, and you're changing that. I don't understand that. This is all hitting me now. So please explain that. Also, you talk about this unit and the surrounding property, which now is a construction site. It's construction. We all know what it is. But you're putting on a slab of concrete with parking spaces, pretty much. And then this building in the center and a small something that's a recreational area. What is that? What is the recreational area? Right. So that's important. Excuse me again here. It also appears to be self-contained. Pretty much, it survives on its own. It's got its proper drainage, and you're going to have lighting and all of that good stuff. So what no one has mentioned, what are you doing for the surrounding area? Because you're putting 30 apartments there. You've got 30, 60 people living in this dwelling. What amenities, what infrastructure are you doing in the surrounding area? That area hasn't been upgraded as long as I've been there. I've been there quite a while. So what are you doing for that? Again, I didn't hear anything about what are you doing in the area, right, outside of this one lot, right? I also noted that I thought there was going to be egress for cars in multiple directions. It appears to be just out onto Elgin Avenue. And if you look at the way it's situated, you've got a direct line out of the front gate heading down Elgin Avenue to head towards the train station, right? You want young professionals. You want 60 young professionals right? Pretty much going to work in the morning to get to the train, shooting straight down Elgin Avenue in the morning to get to the train. Rush hour, you're gonna create a rush hour. I was out last night watering. 2 kids, little, walking around, running out into the street. How are you gonna stop that? And how are you gonna keep these cars from, they're not, these people are, I'm assuming new residents coming into the area from other areas, just doesn't seem right. So the surrounding area, what are you gonna do for that area when you put this up? As obviously, I don't agree with that. So, excuse me, I'm a little, yeah.
This is your time, this is the public's time to speak, so.
Yeah, okay.
Feel free.
Yeah, also, there's no parking overnight on weekends. Where are these cars gonna go? Where are all these cars? I've never seen one of these places built, I've looked around, that has enough parking. And I know you're going over the limit for what, and I was actually surprised to hear you had 60. But when you think about it, people do have guests. Younger people, young professionals entertain. Where are these cars gonna go? What are you gonna do with that? So, yeah, I just don't get enough. I see the picture, I see the floodplains, and I see the engineering drawings from a distance. What does it do for the residents and their protection? I think you're putting a place in that's going to be a risk to the neighborhood. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you
well,
for
I'm
that.
talking to you because
Yes,
that's what I'm
no,
supposed to do.
But that is what, you've asked the question.
Right.
They have to answer
Okay,
at the right time.
right, got it written down.
I wrote it down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yes.
Hello, Neil, 15 Red Jake's Drive. I am against this project mostly on the aesthetics. As I just said, I live on Bethpage. We have beautiful little condo units on Laurel Lane. Fits into the little hillside. Nobody even knows it's there. Topstone Drive has beautiful little condos that you have to know you're going there in order to know they're condos. This is an eyesore, total eyesore. It does look like a hotel, just a plain old apartment building, nothing to me attractive about it. And I think 30 units is overkill. I do wonder why they're all single bedroom units, why there aren't some 2-bedroom units. I don't know, maybe we just don't want the families in town, we just want the young professionals, I don't know. But as it is, I do not think this should be approved.
Thank you. Anyone else, please? In this room?
Go to me first?
Yep. Oh, thanks.
Wayne Ritter, 22 Elgin Avenue. I've lived on Elgin Avenue for 49 years, and I got 2 more on Milwaukee Avenue. I grew up on Elgin. I rode the bike. I did everything, That is not small town charm. That looks like cash and grab. Have you ever gone down Elgin and looked, see how this wants to be? That's not, you should go look. You can see. I don't know if you have, but you should. Because that does not fit in. It is bad news. I'm sure I'm up for building, but not that. Because it was somebody's yard. It was 17. Then he had the planning and zoning split it up so he could build his garage. But it doesn't fit in our neighborhood. But somehow he got it changed. And now he wants to change. But look at that thing. That is not historic small town charm. You understand what I'm saying? And that was the motto for Bethel. First it was I'm a Bethel believer. Then it's the small town charm. Now it's TOD. Be commuter. Find a train. Walk on the wetlands. to the frame. It's not gonna work. Those buildings there where the wetlands are is all marsh. It's all nothing solid, you know? It's bad news. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Gentleman in the back.
John Hamlin, 5 Elgin. My family has owned there for 70 years, so I got you a little beat. I did ride the bike up and down Elgin, and I can tell you there is a significant difference in the speeding, and unfortunately, I'm the guy responsible for getting that speed sign
Oh,
put back.
thanks. I'll be by tomorrow.
5 Elgin. Anyway, there was no speed sign, it disappeared one year. It used to be in front of 3, and I said, you could put it in front of 5. I don't care where you put it, but also put that sign that used to say children, slow down. It was a big yellow diamond sign, and that disappeared from in front of 3. So change happens, and unfortunately change, everybody thinks is good, but it's not always good. I'm not against change. Change is always gonna happen. But the bottom line is the elevation. I mean, we're talking, that's almost 4 stories when you look at the peak of it. And I can only think of 2 houses on Elgin that are 3 stories. Most of them are 2 stories, a lot are 1. It is a single family community. I remember my father would be over in the gymnasium 60 years ago screaming about going multi-family, making it 2 family homes. And he didn't succeed because someone paid somebody. And that's the way the ball usually rolls. But the problem is, I noticed in this town, there's no traffic impact studies. Everybody's using the number 60. It's not 60. They're going to leave in the morning. They're going to come back. That's 120. They're going to have friends, relatives come over. That's a factor of 1.1 or 1.5. And then they're going to go to the store. So that's 60 more trips. So they talk about trips where I come from, where I live full time, that is. And this is going to be a nightmare for anybody that has a child that lives on Elgin, because right now, as the last time I appeared here in May, I spoke to you and I said, look, you're using it as a pass-through. Everybody here knows it's a pass-through because of one silly light at the Sycamore, and they think they're gaining time. But I bet you if I drove my car and I told my friend, drive your car through Elgin, I'd still meet them at Grant Street and probably beat them, even with that light there. But people think, they have this psychology, if they speed down Diamond and speed over to Grant, they can get out. Well, when you get to Grant, you're stuck. But that doesn't stop these people from doing it. I don't understand the mentality, but hey, the bottom line is Mr. Saunders' elevation, his ground elevation is way too low. If you stand on the corner of Elgin and Diamond, you can look down into his yard, and somebody brought up an excellent point about, of course they're going to landscape it, of course they're going to sod it, and of course they're going to fertilize it, and of course it's going to go into the Simpog Brook. This idea that you have wetlands in Bethel, I don't know whatever happened to wetlands. St. Mary's School tried to build where Kellogg's, is it Kellogg's? Yeah. Kellogg's storage is now, and they said, no, that is wetlands. No one's going to ever build in there, is what St. Mary's School was told. And then one day Kellogg's winds up there, and I'm like, all I'm trying to say is, somebody also said this, 30 homes, there's actually, I think, are closer to 40 homes actually on Whitney and Elgin, but it's almost like doubling it. And it does not meet the unique quality of the homes, because there's each home on Elgin, each home on Whitney is unique, and that's certainly not unique. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else in this room? What about online?
Okay. For persons that want to offer public comment online, you can indicate so by doing what's called raising your hand. There's an icon, toolbar. There's an icon in the toolbar at the bottom of the Zoom app that will say reactions, a little smiley face. Clicking on that reactions icon brings up another option for you to raise your hand. Raising your hand is the best way for us to acknowledge that you have comment that you want to offer, especially if you don't have a video camera that we can see you with. At this time, Madam Chair, I'm not seeing anyone that appears to be raising their hand. If you are up, I'm seeing Paula Angelini.
Paula, okay, Paula, we see your hand up.
This is, okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Can you
can.
hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Paula Antonini, Jacobs Lane. I'm a news reporter and for Bethel, through Bethel Advocate, and I am always around town seeing what people are saying. And I'm wondering if the planning and zoning or any other town officials are doing that. Are they walking these streets, not just doing a site walk, but walking the streets and getting a feel for the neighborhood? And, you know, I know you're going to say you have to follow regulations on these 830G things, but where does it end? I'd like to know, you know, there's a master plan, but it's very general. So these 830Gs or, you know, 72 home developments, I just found out there's another one coming in off of Route 6. And 131 apartments were just approved. And then there's one behind Hollandia, that's 7 3-story buildings. It's just going on. And I'm very worried about how many people are going to fill Bethel when there is rush hour. You know, it's rush hour. So what's going to happen with all these extra cars, just like everyone in the audience is saying? But the main thing is, when is the town and its officials going to care about the people in Bethel? These are, for most people, their house is their investment. And it's you know, it's home to them. So why isn't anyone caring about what the people are saying? Because I'm going to a lot of these meetings. I'm seeing the same thing over and over. Project after project, it's presented. You have the public hearings, and someone was saying that too, and people make their comments. But then when I watch the aftermath of the planning and zoning or board of selectmen or whoever's involved discuss this, it's kind of not even paid attention to anymore what the concerns of the people are. You have an uprising here, I think, because there's so many. Now, I know you're going to talk about Cindy Lane again tonight too. And more and more. And there's another developer that's developing some of the buildings on Greenwood Avenue, wants to add more stories. It's just never ending. And I agree with the person that said it's a dotted attitude with saying something is TOD if someone asks you to make it that way. So you may have a vision. When I say you, it's the boards in Bethel and the officials. You may have one vision, maybe guided by the Bethel Forward events, but the people are on the other side, it seems to me, because I've walked the roads. I've spoken to people on these roads where these projects are going to go. I think it would be wise if you did the same. They're here tonight, but it's not all of them. Go in any of the neighborhoods that you're putting any of these big projects in, and you'll see. And that's all I'm going to say right now, because my main question is, when will it end? Because it is ruining, especially what Cynthia said, the building in the center of town across from the municipal. I've spoken to some of the people on the planning and zoning about how it was able to build 1 foot from the border of the property on all sides, just about. I might have some of the measurements wrong, but I was told that it's sort of like Greenwood, where the businesses are right up against, and it is retail in the bottom of those buildings. So I don't know, where will it end? That's my main comment, and thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? David?
I'm not seeing anyone else that appears to have their hand raised at this time.
Okay. Hi. You have the floor.
Sure. All right, Mike Mizuko, representing the applicant. There was a lot of questions about parking and the number of units. But I think there's an important aspect that's sort of being missed is that they're only 1-bedroom units. So you're not getting visitors, you're not getting a lot of, children, because there's only 1 bedroom.
No.
I'm just being real. If you have 1 bedroom, you're not having
Point of
families.
order.
You're not having families.
Can we speak to the commission, not the audience?
No, Nick, this is his time to
No, no,
answer.
but we're debating with the audience.
Oh, sorry.
As far as like some of the other, so the number of units, 1-bedroom units and the parking, the regulations require 1.5 parking spaces per unit for a 1-bedroom unit. And then the other requirement is a quarter of a space per unit for visitors. So again, if you're talking about a 1-bedroom unit, as opposed to say 2 bedrooms where the potential for additional drivers is greatly increased, you don't have that in this case. Some of the other issues that came about street lighting and sidewalks, I think that's more of a town issue that should be addressed. Obviously, if there's a requirement for sidewalk in front of the property, we did show it. I think we have to do just a little bit of expanding and cross the driveway with it. But certainly something the applicant is going to do. Let Chris talk about amenities. I don't believe that there's going to be any common fees for the units. Again, a lot of talk about not enough parking, but we believe with the 1-bedroom units and the 60 parking spaces that we meet the regulations and that there will be a sufficient amount of parking for events, gatherings, etc. And I didn't mention earlier, but we did spend some time going back and forth with the town, looking at different options. We actually had a different plan. We started out with two separate buildings. We had more units and we had one of the buildings literally like almost on the road. We felt that because of the industrial zone in the rear, sort of a decent transition by putting the building, the apartment building back towards the industrial zone, because there's a natural progression and transition from, say, a single-family residence zone to a multi-family zone to then a commercial and then an industrial. Right here, we're going from like a residential into like backing up to an industrial. So I felt that pushing the building back on the site made a lot of sense, and it's not overbearing for the residences on the street. Somebody had mentioned something about the watershed moving. It wasn't the watershed, it was the floodplain line because of the development. It just, all we did was make it accurate to the flood elevations in that watershed area. Talks about taking advantage of the TOD regs. I don't know about the legality. There's other things that have been approved in the town under the TOD. You'll have to look into that, I guess, but.
I'll answer the question.
Okay. But the overlay zone is available. It overlays this piece of property. And so it's not something that we're looking to spot zone. It was already determined and this property is included in that TOD overlay zone. So the recreation area is just an area on the site that's available. So people aren't putting their picnic tables out in parking spaces or in the parking area. So we just made that available. There was somebody that made a comment about one of the other projects in town about people having their picnic table out in the parking area. And with that, unless I missed the question, then please let me know, but I'll turn it over to Chris to answer some of the architectural questions.
Chris Patel, BBS Design, Buckle Lane. Just quickly, I'm going to answer a couple of the questions that came up about the building itself, right? As far as amenities, there's not gonna be a gym or anything like that. I know the one question was brought up about central air and all the units are gonna have cooling and heating. The system that we're gonna use is to be decided. There's different ways to go about it, so we're gonna look into what's most efficient and cost effective, but all units and hallways and everything is gonna be conditioned both with cold air and heating. As far as another question that came up was about the finishes. The client's very adamant about making this building look very attractive as far as the materials go on the outside and the inside. So it's gonna be industry standards for cabinets and countertops and floor finishes, and we're not gonna do just the laminate flooring as far as just one size fits all. So I think what other questions are about? There was another question about, it's about the residential feel. What we were talking about for this type of building is this area right here on the sides. That is a typical standard colonial that's been in place for 120 years. And this is also right here. The reason we actually made the building like this on the sides is to take down some of the side that, as Mike mentioned before, we had a much higher roof line, and we worked with the town architect to remedy that, to bring the entire roof down line 4 feet at the peak, and also make the sides look like they're only 2.5 stories, not 3. So those are just a couple of the answers we had for the building.
Thank you. Okay, so we can go back.
Excuse me.
Yes, please.
Kitty, someone
Oh.
figured out how to raise their hand.
Oh, Fran O'Neill. Fran O'Neill.
You're on mute, friend.
Fran? You're on mute.
Technically challenged here.
Name and
Okay.
address, please.
Francis O'Neill, 54 Taylor Avenue. I also attended all of the TOD meetings and was part of the group that did that, and am a former Planning and Zoning Commission member, but many, many years ago. So I had looked at this rather closely, and my first reaction when I saw the building and the 1-bedroom apartments was, good, new senior housing. If it were senior housing, I think this would be a much more acceptable thing where you would be having one person per apartment, but that's not what's being proposed. Also, in the TOD report, which is on the Bethel website, and it's about 16 steps to get to it and find it, but it is there. And on page 76, there actually was a conceptual drawing done of this lot as to what should be done with it within the TOD concept. What is being submitted has nothing to do with what that concept was. That concept would have rotated the building to the right so that it would be narrow side visible, which would have left the apartments that have balconies with a lovely view of all that open space. If you were on the backside of the building, it would have had Elgin extended as a road in front of that building. It would have had a green space in the middle left for development on the other side. It fit what TOD was supposed to be about. Senior housing, which we really need. I don't think there is anybody in town who doesn't think we need more senior housing. It would be a beautiful spot for it because you can walk from there to many places. Just in case those of you who don't know me, I am very senior. I am now very aware of that sort of thing. And for everybody who walked up front with a cane, I would have been right with you because I would have been doing the same thing. But so this could be a wonderful example of what to do with TOD. It would not impact the way that everybody was talking about the young professionals coming and going all the time. Well, seniors don't do that. Plus, they usually do drive at 25 miles an hour on the downtown streets. So I think we don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I think there is a good approach to this. And maybe if everybody talks to everybody, they can come up with a better approach. It's a lot better than what might happen, as somebody said, dump truck storage, which would be acceptable where we are now. So those are my thoughts on the whole thing. And thank you for noticing that I finally managed to figure out how to raise my hand on the computer.
Thank you,
That's
Greg.
it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so go back to the beginning. My glasses back on so I can see. Okay, Chris Posnell,
Yes.
did you have something else you want to say? Chris, okay. Okay, okay. Bob Stennard. Is that, if I'm saying the name wrong, I'm sorry. I'm trying to go over people who had spoken already. They left. Okay, Mike Mancini, do
Yes,
you have anything else you'd like to say?
Yes, I do.
Anything else you'd like to add?
yes. So I think there's a little bit of confusion. I know I'm a little bit confused. I normally am though. So is this considered an affordable housing unit? If it is, then I would understand that you have a mandate from Hartford to push it through. If it is not, then power is actually in your hands. And this is not a foregone conclusion. And you can make a choice in the best interest of your community. And I just hope that you do. So that's what I would like to know.
This isn't affordable housing.
It is or is not?
Is not.
Okay, thank you. So then the power is in your hands, correct? You can
That's
push
correct.
back against the mandate from Hartford.
That's correct.
Okay, that is good to know. Thank you.
I have a question, I'm sorry.
Can I go through the list?
I'm sorry, I just want to follow up on it. Could it be affordable housing then, if it was R10 zone, if they wanted to go that route? And I don't know if you, again, maybe you can answer off the top of your head, but I'm just curious. Wouldn't that,
All I can do is give you,
that's fine, that's.
no, I can give you an opinion.
Yeah,
Okay, my answer to that question is this could be affordable housing? Sure, it could be affordable housing. An application could be made for affordable housing, but I would challenge it. Because the TOD zone, after all the work and time and effort that the town has put in, putting together the plan and the regulations, has made provisions for affordable housing in the TOD zone.
and.
So I would challenge the
Yeah, okay,
statute.
understood.
I would recommend that they challenge the
Okay.
statute.
I was just curious. That's all. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I feel very strongly about
No, I listen.
830G and
That's
senior
a-
housing and
Again, I know
affordable
I'm gonna
housing,
get
and my
more-
staff is,
I'm
my staff, our staff, as staff, the
No, and it's
commission
not, yeah,
has
that-
worked hard and has concurred with that.
Sorry.
philosophy.
Just wanted to.
Thank you. Okay, Alice, Jermaine,
Allison St. Germain. Yes, I have a couple more questions.
what
So,
were the questions you had answered?
no, so the walkability, and we've heard a lot more talk about, and I know that you mentioned in your report that that is something. So is that planned? And is the town planning the walkability study? So that has to be answered later.
Yes, just to save everybody time, if you don't mind, if it's something simple, I'll do my best to give a quick answer.
So if
The answer is yes.
Okay, then the other point to the transit oriented district. When that did come out and my husband and I were looking at all of those plans, we were like, oh, this is fabulous. And when we first saw all of the maps and plans, our streets lay outside of that. So I don't know when that changed. I may have missed that, but in the 17 years that I've lived there, I thought we were right on the edge of that. And so, again, if that has to be a question that has to be answered later.
No.
And, okay. so
It's always been
It's
part
always
of-
been there. Okay.
yes. The map is right outside the door here
Okay.
of what
So
was adopted.
then my last point is when we talk about public transportation, and if that is a big piece of this property going forward, really, you could commute by bus to Danbury. You could potentially walk to the train. However, again, more than a mile walk to our train station that does not have yet reliable train into Grand Central Station on a regular basis. If you want to get up real early in the morning, great. If you want to wait and go really late at night, wonderful. But my point to that is that these individuals that would live on in this property still would drive to the train station. And is there an infrastructure there to handle that many more cars, like at our train station, where you right now have to reserve a parking spot and pay for that?
It is a question that I can answer at this point. The train station has over 325 spaces right now, and this is after COVID. A lot has changed within the world. Right now, they're up around 100 permits. So right now, yes, there is space available. But I will say that the world has changed. A lot of people work home, a lot of people work home part-time, and then in office the rest of the time. So it's very difficult to make an analysis of that at this point.
So the traffic patterns and all of that also, so walkability study, if that's being planned, and a traffic study, because I have too been here wanting speed bumps on our street, you know, which we don't have. So those things really would then give you data to make more informed decisions about the impact that this would have on these two streets in particular, and then those surrounding intersections. So, because there are obviously some major intersections with Greenwood Ave and 53. So traffic study and walkability.
As far as the traffic study is concerned, you have to understand that the traffic authority for the town of Bethel is the police commission. And they have a system, they get reports from their lieutenants or chiefs or whatever, but they are the true traffic authority of the town, not the planning and zoning commission. And I apologize, but I'm not trying to
No,
shift.
they didn't answer. I noticed in your report, they don't have a response yet to this.
Yes, but I just wanted to let, it's an opportunity. Police commission's the one you go to for speed bumps, speed limits. I'm sure that John can help you with that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Amy Scantinelli? Is Amy still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah.
It was interesting to sit and listen to all of this. This is probably my first input that I've had. And I understand that change is inevitable, and something is going to go up on that lot. I actually really liked what Fran had to say and would like the board to think about what they've approved so far and what they've seen happen to some of these things that have been approved, whether it be picnic tables and parking spaces, not enough parking, and to consider, you know, kind of going along with maybe something more along the lines of what was originally planned, to Fran's point. So I think that might help address a lot of things that we've heard in this room tonight around traffic, you know, sidewalks, infrastructure, so on and so forth. So,
thank you. Paul Frederick?
Yeah, just a few things to add to my thoughts before. One is I don't care about the materials on the building. I don't want to see the building. It will be visible, I'm sure, from my house because I'm basically 2 doors away, and it'll be right there. I'm on the same side of the road, and it's huge. You know, we have a road full of 1- and 2-story homes, and 3 stories sticks out. I know there's some bigger, but they're much older homes. And the last thing is, I don't think anybody on either road considers ourselves to be downtown. I know Mr. Lennon mentioned that quite a bit about downtown and the downtown area and the people walking downtown. Great. That's not where we are. We're on a hopefully quiet road to stay quiet. And the other thing is, I think when you look at parking spaces and units, you have to think worst case scenario. They're single bedroom, you're gonna have a couple. Couples are gonna have 2 cars. That's 60 spaces, that's what they've got. To think that they won't have friends over ever, that's not realistic. My daughter lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with a pull-out couch, and friends would stay on the couch. Friends are staying over. That's what it's gonna be. Young professionals, you can count on it. How many are we gonna need? 90 spaces? I don't know if everybody has somebody over.
one person over, if they have 5 people over, who knows where it goes from there? It jams our roads, that's for sure, because it doesn't go anywhere else. Thank you.
Thank you. Go down the list here.
What time do you have, Penny?
Thank you.
8:47. I think that, I would take a consensus of the commission at this point. Do you want to keep going forward, or do you want to take a little bit of break?
I think yeah, I think a 5 or
You know,
10.
this
I would
meeting
think,
is
yeah.
going to be continued. You have other items on the agenda that you have to take care of this evening.
Mhm.
Are you still taking comments about this project?
Well, of course we will.
Okay.
You mean tonight, or this is also, this is going to be continued to our next meeting. So there'll be comments will be allowed at the next meeting as well. Not just this meeting.
Okay.
Whenever the public hearing.
Yeah, she's just talking about the
The
list. So
list
you're gonna
of people that you're gonna read that already commented, you're reading through a list so people can speak a second.
Well,
time.
what I really wanted to know, and the reason to ask, reading the list, is the questions you asked, were they answered to your satisfaction? That's what we wanted to know.
No.
No, what, no. Do you want to take a break now?
It's up to you.
I would, yeah, can we take a 5-minute break? Thank you.
I move, hey,
wait a minute, please.
Hey, hold on. I move that we go into a 5-minute recess.
We usually don't, okay. All on favor? Opposed? Motion, okay, for recess. Motion. Okay, now my question to you is, if there is anyone who has spoken, is there any new question that you would like to ask to this discussion?
I don't have a new question, but it was part of my statement and it never got really addressed.
Right.
Then we'll have to look it up, yes. Okay, Cynthia, you had something, please?
Well, I have a question, but I do have some additional comments because now I have my wits about me. I've calmed down a little bit. So I noticed.
Name and address.
Oh, Cynthia.
I know, but everybody else.
I still live at 19 Elton Avenue. I haven't moved yet, but you'll see a for sale sign. In the presentation, I noticed about with the lights and whatnot, it says they should consider. That sounds very mild to me and not effective. I also want to know what is the suggested or median price for these rentals? These are questions. Okay, and these are comments. As far as the TOD, a couple of things. One is my understanding from the TOD is that the infrastructure has to be taken care of before the project gets built. So when they say sidewalks, that's a town issue. Well, guess what? It's kind of not, because you have to have those services in place. I'm on the Board of Finance. I've been on the Board of Finance for 6 years. I have not, two things. One is I've not seen any appreciable increase or revenue to the grand list from this multi-housing. And all I know is our taxes went way up. Additionally, we voted a budget for the school for $52 million. Now it's like more people now. I don't know if there's going to be kids there. We don't know who's going to rent the apartments. We just don't. It could be one person, could be a couple, it could be a person and a child. We don't know. So that cuts into the revenue right there. The other part of that is I had a lot of trouble finding the landlord for this property because on all the documentation it says Whitney/Elgin, and it's not specific with the number. And I was wondering about that. Now here's another one. TOD 2014. They had all the thing, asking the people, we need to revitalize. There was a lot of incentivization from the state, federal government. And then guess what? COVID. So people are working from home. And plus we don't have the T of the OD. We don't have the T. Like someone mentioned about the direct trains to Grand Central, they don't exist unless you get up at 6 and come back at 4 in the afternoon. I don't know who is going to commute when nothing is in place for them to get easy access to the train. They're going to drive around the corner and then they're going to pay another like $250 a year for whatever for the parking place. The services, of course, are gonna increase, which means our taxes are gonna go up again. It's gonna be a question of police, fire, all the things that go along with that. My understanding too, when I read the paperwork of the land parts that I saw, that one lot was residential and one was industrial, but one's RR10 and one is industrial, so they're not both RR10, that's my understanding, you can clarify that if I'm wrong. By the way, Bethel, this is 3 years ago when I researched this, Bethel is the second highest town in Connecticut density. A few years ago, it was $1,100 people per square mile. That was about 4 years ago. I don't know what it is now, but this is not helping. And then you have to ask yourself the question, why? Why are we doing it? So people can eat in restaurants? I don't think that's a good enough reason. I think there are people here in place that have been good citizens, been here for a long time, and this feels like it feels like a little bit of a backstabbing, honestly. And I'm sure it does to other people because it's a total disregard. This is a total disregard for the unique nature of our neighborhoods and our houses. It's a very well kept street, both streets. And it's just unfortunate that this has been proposed. I'm not gonna say I didn't like what Fran said, I did, but I'm still not even, right with, just putting, like, landing a spaceship on a pod and, having that be part of the neighborhood has nothing to do with our neighborhood. Thank you.
Sure.
So I did have 2 questions about the price. I wanted to know what's the median price of the rental.
Okay, the new question is, how does putting a
Name and address.
John Hammer, 5 Elgin Avenue, how does putting an apartment complex, renters, non-owners, next to a community that's owned by owners, how does that increase property value? Proud of. And one other comment is, I used to ride the train in the 1980s down the Willow. And no one was on there, maybe me and about 2 other people per car. If you ever get stuck at the train, you have to be the first car. You can look through the windows today, just like you could 40 years ago. So if it's transit oriented district, I mean, Todd has been a failure because people don't ride the bus and people don't ride the train. So I don't know what the purpose of Todd is. If you want to do walking oriented district, because someone's talking about restaurants and density, well, that's a whole different subject. But Todd has been a failure because even before it ever began in the 80s and the 90s, no one took the trip.
That's right.
Thank you.
Bravo, sir.
Anyone else? You made your statement, yes.
Yeah, I mentioned it in my statement. I don't think it's part of the developer's plan, but I believe this came from planning and zoning. There's a plan to put a road from this proposal through this proposal and the Ball property on Ball Street. And
What
then
do you mean the Ball Street exit you were talking about?
yes. It's gonna go through the Ball property onto Ball Street. And the purpose of that is so that the Ball property, which is 10+ acres, can be developed. And they're gonna put up a multitude of these buildings on Ball Street. So everybody here is looking at this one building and saying how ugly and unsightly and motel looking like it is. Well, there's gonna be a multitude of them behind it. If you put this road through too, because they need this road to go through Paul Street so they can have more than one point of egress to develop the land on Paul Street.
I'm sorry, your name again, sir?
Arthur Ingram.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, hi, Ron McLeod, 19 Elgin Avenue. Just my question, I don't believe it was answered. I could have missed it. What is being done from the town for the transit improvement district around this self-contained development to improve the district and allow for the 30 families that are going to be living in this area?
What is the developer going to do or the town?
Whoever.
No, see, right now, we're asking the developer question.
The town or the developer.
No, I mean,
Well, that's
seriously,
That's
the
fine.
questions are for these 2 gentlemen
Okay.
here, right now.
All right, what are they doing for the surrounding community, which I didn't get an answer for? I think he said, well, nothing. I think, I don't want to speak for him. But I'm just wondering what
Okay.
that is. And just a clarification, there's probably an exit, an emergency exit, or emergency egress for cars out of the property. I didn't see it on the plan, sorry,
It's
my
not on the
vision's not
plan.
as good.
Well,
But is that a pass-through, or is that just an emergency exit?
But we'll let the
Okay.
gentleman answer that. Okay. Do that?
Sure.
Can I,
Oh, I'm
excuse
sorry.
me, just give Michael a minute. As far as this discussion on the emergency access and pass-through and things of that nature. Number one, no matter what is done with this property, it is a recommendation by staff that there be, and it's an opportunity for the town to have an emergency access to Paul Street. Whenever there is a dead-end road that is, and in this instance, it's used by industrial and commercial uses, it's a dead end. If there's an opportunity to create an emergency fence, something that meets the criteria of the Bethel Fire Department, that is reviewed and looked at. And right now, the fire marshal is looking at it just to see if we can find a way for it to serve that purpose. It is not a pass-through. The second part to that is, yes, in the TOD plan itself that was adopted in 2016 or whatever, it does show in part of their illustrations that the original proposal was to have a road go in between two buildings leading into Paul Street. That was on the plan. I'm looking.
Oh, no, I understand.
I'm
I
trying to
hear you.
direct my question to both of you so we have a better understanding.
One of those buildings is my home.
But the property itself, it gives itself opportunity at somewheres along the rear property line to make an emergency access connection to Paul Street. Not necessarily, at your home, sir. It's not on the plan. The staff has directed, has requested, they look at it to see where it could be located. And that would be reviewed by the fire marshal, not by me. It's all about emergency
I'm aware of
access
that
for that.
process. I'm the former fire chief and the current fire commissioner of town.
Oh, okay.
I'm aware of the process.
Okay,
Nonetheless, it's my home where this
Understood.
access is being proposed.
understood.
Kitty, before Mr. Mizuko provides a response, I believe out in the virtual world, Paula Angelini has her hand
Oh,
raised.
I'm sorry. Okay, Paula Angelini?
Okay, here I am. I was
Name and
hoping you'd
address?
notice. Jacobs Lane, Paula Angelini.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask if there are any, I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it just to start a topic. Are there any areas in town that are protected from these buildings plopping on their block? That's number one. And number two is, would the planning and zoning be willing to draw a map and show, first of all, I know you have a TOD map, but also add the possible areas that it could be in. Maybe you could put that in stripes or something. And then last, put an area where the TOD couldn't possibly cover those areas, maybe on the outskirts of town or something like that. So people know where they're at. Because I was surprised to hear you say that Whitney Road was not an 830G project. So by what law are you putting such a large structure on a road like that? I know that you have to abide by the laws when it's an 830G, that the builder has a right to build on his own property. But how is this happening? That's my question. And my question before wasn't answered. I had asked, when will this end? It seems to be never ending. The building of all of these large structures all over.
Do you want to answer, Paula?
No.
No, okay.
It's an opinion, if it pertains specifically to the site plan in front of you, but
Okay.
I'm just looking.
No, I understand.
I was referring to a map for the entire Bethel, not just this property.
We have maps.
Plenty of maps.
We have plenty of maps,
You
Paula.
say-
And we have a
I'm
TOD
sorry?
map.
I know you have a TOD map, but I was wondering if you could add to it and shade in areas that you think are included because they're close enough.
TOD
I'm
is
wondering-
TOD. It doesn't expand beyond TOD. TOD is the TOD area.
Well, was Whitney Road in the TOD?
Yes.
Or Cindy,
Yes.
and Cindy Lane was also?
But
What about on,
No.
what about on Route 6?
Cindy
Is any
Lane,
of that,
I'm sorry?
what about on Route 6, all the large buildings?
No,
that are
that's
going
not
in?
TOD, no.
Okay, so,
Right.
again, Paula, we're speaking directly in regards to
To this application.
this site this evening. If you need
Okay.
guidance in using the maps, please call the office and we'll try our best to help you, okay?
Okay. Excuse me, Mike.
Yeah, just a couple things. There was a question on the lighting, so I'll be going to my client and talk to him about that recommendation to change the lighting, so we'll work on that. Pricing on units, again, I'll have to speak to them about that. I don't even know if they know at this point, but they might have a decent idea. And I just, you don't want to talk about senior housing. I mean, we're setting these up, these buildings with elevators and ADA, as Chris had mentioned, all of these units will be ADA accessible, so they're already.
Isn't it the first complete ADA building?
Yeah, every unit is designed to meet the disability requirements, yes. So anybody can live in any story of the building, any part of the building.
And then the question about the emergency access to Paul Street, we'll work with staff and the fire marshal and the applicant about addressing that issue.
Okay.
There was one more question we didn't answer. How is a rental community next to owners going to improve our value?
I don't think. Yeah, that's a tough question. I don't even want to respond to that.
It's got an obvious answer.
How do you quantify that?
I don't know myself. I know, you know, that wouldn't be something I could.
I just want to say something as far as the senior housing that is not guaranteed. If we bring in 60 senior citizens into this building, that's 60 more people that are going to vote against the education budget because they don't have people in the
I'm sorry, I'm a
education.
senior citizen and that's not true.
Well, I have to say that majority of the senior citizens that I have driven past their homes all have vote no on the education budget.
Your name and address, please.
I'm sorry, Angel Frederick,
That's right.
13 Whitney Road.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's just, you're not opening this up to a single bedroom unit is not opening itself up to families.
No, no.
No, and, but that's what we need to, if we're gonna bring people into Bethel, we need to bring families, not singles.
Okay.
That's just, yeah.
But I understand.
Okay.
What you know. One more time.
Yeah, no, I
Okay, just
understand that.
just a quick one.
One more.
Whitney and Elgin, right where that property is kind of on the line of the TOD.
Mhm.
The rest of Whitney and Elgin is not in the TOD, but we are being affected by this project and by the TOD.
Mhm.
I just want to put. that
I
out
thought
there.
it was part of it, but.
It's right.
Just that
Just that
corner.
piece, yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, I just want to correct you. I'm awfully sorry. But you will notice on the hallway here, there is a map
Mhm.
and it is full.
It's all in there.
Included in there.
Okay, the map we just looked at online wasn't, but maybe it's different. I don't know.
The TOD map is in the hallway.
And it's behind you as well.
I'm going to say thank you very much. This is going to be continued to our next meeting. And once again, public, I mean, we were looking at this at the same time you were. So we'll all be discussing this further.
July 26th will be the
Yes.
next Tansy meeting. It will be here. They're gonna be discussing now a date for a site walk
Yes.
and public can participate in that sidewalk if you so choose.
So this is going to be continued to July 26th.
Sidewalk,
Oh, sorry.
during the week or on the weekend?
Oh,
During the week?
well, I just see, I'm open. Everybody.
Except for this weekend, I'm open.
Just because.
Well, I know
if
Rob,
How about you, Ken? You open?
he's got to
I know.
do,
I've been there
farmers.
20 times. I know.
Well, yeah, but I want to, I want to see it stay. Really.
Kitty, we could do this Saturday.
Or during the week, anything but a Wednesday.
What time is good during the week?
Anytime after 5:30 for me.
6 o'clock?
I'm open. 6 o'clock.
Ken, were you trying to offer input?
Then who?
Oh, Ken Stevens. Oh, yes.
Ken,
Oh, Ken has his hand up. Okay, Ken. Yes.
this is for chairman.
This is,
And are you,
Ken,
I'm here. Yep, I'm here. My suggestion was Saturday morning if it's, people are available. This Saturday morning.
Saturday morning is difficult for some of the commission members, Ken.
Okay.
I'm hoping for an evening.
Thursday night?
What date? Oh, this Thursday?
No,
Next.
22nd.
That's Friday.
That's Friday.
Thank you.
July
21st.
21st. July 21st at 6:20 p.m.
6 p.m.
Fine here.
6 p.m.
Maybe we should all park at the train station so we can get the feel.
And walk over?
Walkability.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me, I have neuropathy. It's not happening.
I would do too, rather the same thing.
Well, if you're nice to me, I'll let you park in my driveway. You don't have to park in the road.
Okay, wait, is the mobile station open at that time of night?
Ken, are you still
Oh,
speaking?
I'm trying to ask a question.
Excuse me,
Motion
we
to-
have some order here. The chairman is trying
I'm
to
sorry.
speak.
Go ahead,
So,
Chairman.
is the date settled for Thursday, the 21st?
Yes.
At what time?
6.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Sidewalk, July 21st at 6 p.m.
Does that work for you?
Check out the building.
Go park in the supermarket and walk over.
No, we can park in there's plenty of
Plenty of
room
parking.
to
Oh, in the
park
lot.
on site.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, so that'll be open.
Don't worry about it.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize it would be.
I can park in front of my house, everybody does.
No,
All
I
right.
just wanted to
Okay,
comment,
so
when
we-
you do your site walk, you do take comments about the site walk. I think it's important that you do walk the length of Whitney and you walk the length of Elgin. Because if,
And they're yeah.
because those are really important pieces when we're talking about sidewalks and things.
I
like
was
that.
there today, walking.
I didn't.
Take pictures of all the houses so you know what you're seeing.
I'm
I
well
want
aware
to take
of that.
pictures of my art.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay, here we go. Thank you. We have to start a business meeting now, folks. We have a whole big meeting left.
All right, well, good luck with your business meeting.
Thank you for your time.
More stuff. Thank you. See you in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
I don't have to provide refreshments or anything, right?
Well, a little wine and cheese.
Okay, let's, wine if it helps us.
No, I'm teasing, no. Please. Okay, so we're going to have start our business meeting. And
Crank that AC there.
Rob, we're going to sit for Rich Tibbetts. I don't think we have anybody, everybody else.
Just Rob for Rich.
Oh, Doug Cooney's here. Who else? What other- Oh, Doug, we can sit Doug for Bob Legnar. Okay?
Who are we sitting for, Bob?
Doug Cooney.
Here, go over in front of the table instead. Yeah, that's fine.
Doug, are you muted?
Because we can't.
I'm not now.
No, you're not. So Doug for Bob Legnar and Rob for Rich Tibbetts. Okay. So we have minutes of 6:28. Have we read the minutes? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes of 6:28.
Read a second?
There's just a small typo that I noticed. One of the names Esposito was spelled with an E at the Quick correction. Other than that, yes.
Motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Invoices,
Aye.
News Times, $388.90.
Make a motion to pay the news time.
Second.
Is that Ken? All right, got it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes.
Public notices, right?
I'm sorry. Right, the news time. Okay, the work session. Gauthier, Cindy Lane, being tabled.
Yes, we have a 35-day granted extension by the applicant, so we have 35 days.
Have they come in with a updated?
No, they have not. They should be shortly.
Okay, so
When that comes in, would you mind emailing it out? So we get a
Yes.
look at it?
It's got to go through review.
I know.
Engineering, and you have a new engineer, so we'll see.
Gentleman we met here last time.
Yes.
yes. Okay, new business, Steiner Inc. 8, 9, 10, 17 Millbrook Road.
That's for scheduling public hearing.
Oh, okay.
And that will be scheduled for September 13th. I hate to even say the words.
So we'd like to make that motion, please?
What's that for?
To a public hearing.
Public hearing on text amendments. It's in the Google.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
no. Go
I
ahead.
move we hold a public hearing for 8, 9, and 10 Millbrook Road on September 13th, 2022.
Second.
That you can?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstention? Motion passes. Okay, we have one more. Village Square Inc., Design Conservation District. Text amendment, we need to schedule a public hearing.
That's in relationship to the same night, and that would be September 13th.
Yes, that's what you said.
That is part of the map amendment. It's a map amendment from R20 to Route 6. It's a very detailed map amendment, and it is located up where the littlest angel is.
Oh, I thought you said Village Square.
No,
It says village.
I was wondering why you said,
Yeah,
oh,
you
it's
said.
called Village Square.
You skipped.
No. we did.
It's called Village Square.
Village Square Inc. is the,
Okay, that's gonna be,
not that Village Square.
that is gonna be
Village Square Inc.
seriously confusing.
Village Square Inc. It's called.
Okay.
It's because everybody thought it was downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Village Square.
Hello, yeah.
Of course, they couldn't figure out how to be a conservation district there. so.
I know you need new
Okay.
trees, but this is ridiculous.
So, would somebody like to make a motion?
Make a motion. Schedule public hearing. Village Square on September 13th.
I just sent it out to all the appropriate. Okay, all in favor? Oh, second, that's it.
Aye.
Noes? Abstention? Motion passes. Okay. All right, planners report?
I have nothing.
Okay, commission comments?
Time to go.
My question, the gentleman that said all the TOD paperwork
Oh.
filed properly,
Thank you.
does that hold any water?
What Brad hopes was talking about, but it wasn't with the town clerk. It wasn't,
There was a question that was asked during the public hearing.
Which we shouldn't talk about it now.
I wouldn't discuss it now.
oh, okay. That's fine. Public input?
It's been addressed before.
Is BJ here, public? No, BJ?
She's here, but she has nothing to say.
Well, okay, it's nice to say hello.
If there's no public comment, I make a motion to close.
Second,
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes. We're done.